Why did Ruby shoot Oswald? Was there a conspiracy?
In a world shrouded in darkness and obscured by deception from the big secret keepers, a burning question ignites in the hearts and minds of truth seekers. Why? Let's dive into the abyss of the unknown. Challenge the limits of our understanding.
This bizarre sequence of double killings raised great questions. Who actually fired the shots that killed Kennedy?
Pierce the veil of secrecy.
Cattle found dead and the manner of their deaths are a real mystery.
Anyone who is concerned about lead in the drinking water in Flint.
And venture into the realm of conspiracies and extraterrestrial evidence.
A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
Let us consider the question, why the big secret?
Oftentimes we try to imagine what would happen if we were out wandering in the woods and you walk upon something like this. And maybe this is probably what's happening with a lot of people that are in the woods these days, especially our national forests. Now, we're going to cover a few stories tonight, and we're going to go over a few things to talk about what the possibilities are. Is there a UFO alien connection to what we think we already know? As you already should know, there's thousands and thousands of people that come missing or just totally vanish every year when it comes down to our national forest. Now, David Pilates, if you not have heard of him, check out all of his documentaries. You know, he have 3 or 4 in a series. And in the beginning, it was just a huge mystery to what was happening with people and some of the stories. And then ultimately his last one, I think he really revealed something shocking that most people can't comprehend. Number one, because most people don't believe that we're alone in this universe. So how could they even fathom the fact that there's a possibility of something out there lurking in our national forest that can go undetected and therefore render themselves invisible in such a way, as well as snatching people or whatever. Now, we're not going to, it's not here to ridicule what is happening to people out there. We're just going to shed some light and tie it into the conversation that we're going to have tonight when it comes down to these missing people, because once again, it's happening a lot. It's happening at an unprecedented number these days, but it's untalked about. And there's probably a lot of reasons. And maybe the powers that be or the big secret keepers know that there's something out there or something is happening. We can go all the way to the cryptid stories if we want to talk about Bigfoot and all of these things, and how in the forest, how could they hide? How could they just walk around and we have no way of just detecting them? But at the end of the day, this is one of these things that we pretty much there. So I think at this point we need to look at things and pretty much and see what we got right now. So here's the deal. What I want to talk about, and we're going to go 3 different stories tonight. We're going to read about them. One of them is a little longer. I talked about it the other night on Forbidden Knowledge, Derrick Engebretson story. We'll go in that just a little bit. I won't go through the entirety, but there's 2 more. But what makes all of these stories really fascinating when it comes down to the mysterious things is how people, and so many people that have searched for these people in certain places, and then things happen or just doesn't happen. So do your homework. Make sure you go out and look up information before you go on a camping trip. I'm not telling you not to go, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of people that really is vanishing out there. And why not? This is to be a place where you're not going to get a lot of media attention when it comes down to people missing in the forest. Why? Because most of these people that do this on a regular basis could be gone for weeks. Their family members are used to this by now. They go off and camping in solitude, maybe finding themselves in the nature. Maybe they're going on some event to spirituality and all these things. And they're able to go out there and do this. And sometimes they return all the time. It's that one time that they don't return. Now, what makes these stories stick out so different that we're going to go into is that some of these stories are happening within this real tight window where somebody just come up missing, like Derek, within the time frame of catching up to his father and leaving behind his grandfather. And that's one of the things that you have to go, wait a minute, there's something to look at. I mean, I don't want to say in a happy way that the extraterrestrial was just out there just strolling around, enjoying this day. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful day. Hoping I run into a human on my way. I don't know. I don't think they're singing the song, but obviously they're out there. Something is going down. And we have to literally look into the facts and say, okay, what is happening? What's going on here? So let's talk about it. We're going to start with this particular story, which is Dereck Engebretson. Now, this guy, a little kid, he was 8 years old, and he came up missing in December the 5th, 1998. All right. And his story, and like I said, I'll go into it a little detail. I have the facts and things right here with you, and we're going to cut up a few things as we go on the way doing what we're doing. Make sure you smash that like button if you find any value in things that we're doing tonight, pretty much as well too. Before I get started, also, let me kind of put here, I have an ebook, The UFO Conspiracy. It's an ebook. You can download it. It'll support the channel. It'll support what we do here. You'll get a lot of information. I cover a lot of things about UFOs, ufology, the moon landing, a bunch of conspiracies. And you can just go to roderickmartin.com. It's going to use PayPal. You can check out. Make sure you put in an email address that it's going to automatically send you a download link, and definitely get your copy of that ebook, please, and support the channel as well. And so again, it's a great way. You're going to get some information. But back to the story. Derek, 8 years old. Okay, so let's kind of get into what I'm talking about. This little kid here on December the 5th in the afternoon, Derek and his father, Robert, he has a grandfather named Bob. Bob was around 64 years old at the time. And they was out in what we call a densely wooded mountainside. And this was located above Klamath Lake. And this is about 30 miles north of Klamath Falls. And so that's the location to where they were. Now, the whole story kind of goes that they was out looking for a Christmas tree. I'm going to do some paraphrasing here for you because I'm familiar with the story. They was out looking for a Christmas tree. Now, ultimately, they do this every year, but just so happened this year, the wife, Lori, told her husband, Robert, hey, you know what? Just like any other wife, I am sick and tired of cleaning up behind these Christmas trees, especially if you had one of these wild ones in your house. You can see, when that thing dries up, it falls everywhere. I'm sure y'all experienced that, right? Not an artificial tree. But now, why go spend money on an artificial tree when you right there by the forest, you just go cut you one down? So the benefit of having that and money savings is something else. But ultimately, Laura said, not this year. We're not doing it this year. Okay. There is a neighbor who was handicapped that wanted a tree. And the neighbor was like, hey, basically, can you get me a tree? And Robert, being the guy that he was, said, okay, we're going to go out and we'll get you a tree this year. Now, when you start thinking about this story, and when you hear about more of this story, there's a lot of people that felt really bad through a lot of the things that happened and transpired through the story that we're going to go through. And one of them, I'm sure, would be this person too, because now finding out through all the reports that they were not going to go get a tree this year, and I go get a tree for you, and all of a sudden my kid get kidnapped, missing, vanished because I went out and get a Christmas tree for you. I'm sure that person feels awful, and that is just crazy. Now, we're going to go through some of these stories. Some of the stuff that's happening And along the way, we'll tie in a little extraterrestrial alien connection possibilities, right? Because some of these things that begin to happen, especially in this storybook, the next story that we're going to talk to after this one is going to be about, let me see who the guy is we're going to discuss. I have my notes right here. Okay. Garen Kirk, and then I have a Corey Fay. So those two, we're going to talk about those three stories, but let's hop right into a little more information in where we go. This is live for whoever Damon is asking. Is it live or recorded? It's live. It's live. I'm here live. Okay, let me give a shout out. C. Gray in the house. M. Thomas in the house. Darrell is in the house. Reese is in the house. Sofa is in the house. Damon is in the house. Diana's in the house. Summer is here with us as well. And I can scroll back up a little bit. Serious Poems and Renee. So, all right, we're live. All right, so we're interacting. So make sure y'all get involved. If you want to know we're really live, okay, now y'all gonna get my humor together. But let me just keep going and put up here on the screen if you want to support the channel and you find value tonight. The Cash App is right there at the top. Now that's live. If you want to hear that thing go chick-ching while you're talking on this phone, you will definitely hear that as well. So, all right. So at this point, once again, they go out and they decided to get this tree. Now, give you a little backstory about Derek and why he was so fascinated with the forest. When he was about a week old, okay, and when he was born, his mother carried him on a bear hunt, out of all things, in a pack. Now, I can't tell you. I mean, of course, I've had two daughters, and well, she had the babies, but I don't remember that a week-old baby will be in the right place to put it in the back of a pack and go freaking bear hunting, right? So at this point right now, this set the tone of the fearlessness of this family anyway. And I don't know about any of y'all, but who would have taken their 1 week old child in a pack going bear hunting? So put in the chat. Let's see. We're live. And well, anyway, so that's how he got his name, Bear Boy. So mom does this. Now he's called Bear Boy. So he's used to it. He's been out there. He's went hunting with his father before. He's picked mushrooms with his mother's father on several mushroom expeditions. He visited Pelican Butte. So he's been in that place where he ultimately came up missing around there. And then he also was just kind of had his own little hatchet. And so he liked going out doing some forest things as well. So like I said, they did not plan to have a Christmas tree this year. So the Engebretsons tried to go get this for the neighbors. Now, time-wise, they went about 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And where they was located in Oregon, we're talking about the Wienerman National Forest, and the time zones in Oregon, it got dark around 4:30. We're talking darkness. Now, of course, probably, they in the mountains area, so they knew they had to kind of rush to get some things. So Robert put on Derek's blue, what they call snowsuit or whole bodysuit, and they went up there and decided to go start looking for a tree. Well, while they're along the way, Dereck, because time was coming of essence and it was getting darker, the father decided to go further because the grandfather was walking a little slower. He's a lot older. He was 60-something at this time, trading up this thing in the mountain. And so Robert quite naturally told Dereck, stay here with the grandfather, stay here with him. And, I'm going up ahead. Well, Dereck apparently didn't like that. Okay. Or he wanted to be there with his dad. He wanted to be a hero too. And he was kind of chopping up trees along the way too, just getting in whatever. And he was very, very vocal about it, according to the records. And then, of course, the grandfather ultimately did what most grandfathers would do, give in to his grandson. I mean, imagine Papa Bear, I don't know. I don't have any grandkids, but Papa Bear, can I go ahead? And I'll be like, yeah, you can go ahead. But he did. And this was, for the grandfather at that moment, the last time he saw 8-year-old Dereck. Now, vision the fact that take my left hand as the father, this hand over here, the right is the grandfather, and they're together. He moves forward, and now Derek goes to catch up. So now there's this gap. Perfect opportunity, obviously, for whoever grabbed him, how he came missing or whatever. But ultimately, with the story, it seemed that it didn't happen that way, but it would be the perfect opportunity for something to be out there lurking around and then ultimately, kidnap this kid while he was out there. So here he is. He's walking in the forest, and maybe possibly did he run into this scenario, and maybe he didn't. Maybe he got lost. Maybe whatever the situation is, we were just to assume that that's what it was. So now all of a sudden, when Robert and Bob meets up, and the first thing that Robert said to his father, "Hey, where's Derek?" Of course he would. And then the grandfather said, "No, Derek is with you. I thought he's with you." And then he's like, "No, he's not with me. He was with you." So now they both are like, "Wait a minute, what do you mean?" And we're gonna pause right there before we start doing all this extraterrestrial connection, because at this moment, for anybody, for any parent, for any scenario, we have to think about what was happening right here at this moment when Robert says, "Where is my 8-year-old son?" And he's looking at his father saying, "No, he went up there with you." And so at this point, now he's missing. Now we would think just by that point that something grabbed him, because that's what we would think when we listening to the story. But there's other parts of the story that we're going to talk about where he ultimately, they found a snow angel, all of these things in a footprint walking out to the snow angel later on, which they thought was Derek. So, but anyway, immediately after he discovered that his son was missing, Robert decided to go back down the hill because remember, they was going up the slope, and now he's like, we got to go back down. Because why would he go back down? It makes sense because Derek didn't pass him, so he couldn't have been up there forward, and so he must go back down this way and looking for him. So he's shouting, "Derek, Derek," just Derek, and he don't hear anything. Now, at the same time, if Derek was abducted, kidnapped, eaten by a bear, or whatever, we would probably have heard screams, or they would have heard screams. They would have heard noises. They would have saw reminiscences of his clothing or all of this. So this didn't happen. So as the story goes on, they then go down looking for him, and Robert decided to go down to the road, and he flagged down a gentleman, and I forget the guy's name, in which I shouldn't. Hines is his name somewhere here. He flagged down a guy named Fred Haynes, and this was about 4:13 p.m. So this is a couple of hours, and now we know it's dark because remember, it gets dark at 4 o'clock, and at this point, this little boy is missing. Okay, so now I don't know what you would have done. Summer says it could have been alligators, could have been big cats and bears, even big birds. I don't know. But I don't know what I would have done in a scenario like that, because we all can go back and say, I would have never let Derek, my kid, out of my sight. But you got to remember, they've done this a gazillion times. The boy's been on a bear hunt when he was a week old with his mother. They're used to the forest. They've been there before. This is their livelihood of life, or not livelihood, but this is what a routine that they've done. So nobody would have speculated that this could have happened at this point. So Fred, driving down the street, is flagged down by Robert. Hey, he's doing, trying to flag him down. And he says, I need you to call the police. So apparently, this is 1998, I think is when the story, December the 5th, they did have cell phones. So apparently they're in the mountains. So maybe it didn't work, or they didn't bother to bring any communication at this point. Even the driver didn't have a phone in his car or something at this point. So he said, okay, he drove about 2 miles down to go do the report. So there was a resort 2 miles away where Derek vanished. And then so Haynes made the call. Now, here's where it starts to get interesting. This is where I started looking more at the details and seeing so many mistakes being made here. Many mistakes, okay? And this is the part that makes you cringe a moment here. So apparently, and we'll go back a little bit, over the course of 2 weeks after this boy is missing, 100, or not 100, I think it was like 2 or 3, 400 people were searching through several feet of snow. So at this point now, we got a whole different ball game happening here, okay? This little boy is now in some snow. And so I wish I can kind of put it up a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about here. But yeah, he's in some snow, and he's out here looking for, or whatever they're trying to do. They're looking for this little boy. So quite naturally, they're looking for tracks. They're doing all of this. Now they use snowmobiles. They use search and rescue dogs. They used, I think they had like helicopters, radar equipment. Now, this is where the alien connection begins, okay? This is where you have to start thinking. Most people would have been like, well, maybe something snatched him. So my first vision was maybe somebody had one of those bug out places, where they dig in the ground, like they have a little hole in the ground, and then, they hide from the police, Rambo style, and they have something underground and people can't find them and they can't see them, stuff like that, right? But you got to remember, if that was the case, I had to kind of shoot that theory out or hypothesis down, because the dogs would have found that easily, right? Footsteps would have shown him going into that, although the boy vanished before the snow started, which meaning we got tracks being covered up by the snow. But at this point, you got to ask yourself, what could have happened that hundreds of people couldn't find him even over weeks and weeks? Okay, the kicker to this, though, before we go any further here, the kicker, let me get to that in just a second. So at this point, his mother, Lori, had an idea. As a mother, people were sleeping at night because it was impossible to look for him at night. I mean, in the forest, it's pitch dark, snow, you can't see where you're going. It's dangerous. It's just no way they could find him. So when the day break, that's when they was all going back out looking for him. But for her, she says, no, I'm staying up 24/7, 12, 365 plus OT. I got to find my son. So she had a van that she borrowed from some volunteers. And so at this point, they decided to, she decided to create a bonfire, right? And she was like, not just to keep them warm, but she wanted a landmark, some searchlight, or maybe a tower or something, if you think of the lighthouse, for guidance. So if Derek was out there late at night, if he couldn't see anything else, he's going to see light. And then, of course, quite naturally, he's 8 years old. He's pretty experienced for an 8-year-old. He had his own hatchet. He knew how to go through and cut some trees. So he would have probably came out and do this. And there was at one point, there was a little hope. She saw him waving, smiling, and she was excited about it. And then it turned out to be her hallucinating, from being up all the 24/7 and all that. So that was kind of sad there. Now we go back into that there was tracks found, and Robin and other members of the family found what they call some new fallen tracks in the snow. And then this was hours right after the disappearance, okay? And it was down in a clearing down by the road, and then it was like a snow angel. So obviously they figured it was his boot prints. It was spotted near where Robert had last seen him anyway. And then at this point, he had, made a snow angel, and they just figured he came back out of there. Now, I don't know what could have happened. The fact that this young boy would have somehow passed his grandfather to go back down, passed him up, and then go down there by himself and decide that he's going to make a snow angel next to the side of the road. That was another piece of mystery. I don't know if any of y'all heard about that part of the process to kind of understand what was going on there in pretty much. So I'm not really for sure there. And so now, before we go any further, anybody got any comments? Anybody want to share something to the story? I'll check it out in the chat before we move on, and then we'll get to some of the pieces here because we got 3 things we're going to talk about. Let me just see what's going on over here in the chat. All right, so y'all are quiet tonight. Anybody here? Y'all here with me or what? Am I by myself? Talk to me, Let me know what's going on. I need to know. I want to know. All right, don't forget the Christmas party. Yep, we're going to get to that next. And all right, appreciate it. Somebody is following along. So at this point, another part of this was that they saw a snow angel, and now they're thinking that he was over there by the road. Okay. And then when they went back to kind of look, there was a snow plow that came in and just obliterated the snow angel, the evidence or whatever. So now the tracks leading toward him was gone. But they did find a small area of trees where it looked like Derek was playing by himself, chopping his thing. Now, what concerns me again is you got a snow angel. It was dark all of a sudden at some point, and then it was it was already kind of dark a little bit. And this guy's 8 years old. So I can't remember my daughters at 8 and what their mindset would be like at this point. But if anybody got small kids right now, what do you think about an 8-year-old? Wouldn't they have the wherewithal at 8? I mean, some of these 8-year-olds are pretty, up there intelligence-wise, but, when he screamed out or hollered for his fathers, would he went on a playing trip by himself knowing it's dark and go make some snow angels and play with the trees? Because what gets me with this is you got to remember that he was begging. The boy was practically begging his grandfather to let me catch up with my dad. I want to go up there with dad. I don't think he was begging to go back the other way so he can go play in the snow. So for them to say, here's the evidence hours later, and see, this is where all this mystery popped up at some point, was that the fact that he was doing a snow angel. Okay, so now what also was tricky, okay, someone else said, what the heck? Oh, okay, there we go. All right, so what we got? So Summer said my 9-year-old would be panicking by itself. That's right. Judith said it's very complex, very sad. Folks missed the opportunity to find him. Yeah, we're going to get into that right now. And so here's the deal. Now, they did find like a candy wrapper. They did find a few items out there that they believe that this was one of the deals. Now, there was a guy that reported to the police department that he saw a young boy that was, I think he said he saw a young boy, arguing or something with a stranger on by the road or something, they said. And then they said he was probably picked up by a stranger at this point. Well, the sheriff department quickly killed that. And like, nope, that didn't happen. Now, that was another thing that I'm like, okay, well, why wouldn't they know this? How would they know so fast? Now, the other part of this was there was a Christmas party. This is where, once I start thinking about it, this is where my emotions really start setting in about this story, not just because of possible alien connection. My emotions set in when we start talking about the fact that there was a Christmas party going on the exact time that this boy was missing, and a bunch of people was there at this Christmas party. The call came in, hey, we got somebody missing. Now, here's the backstory of the Christmas party. This wasn't a normal Christmas party. This wasn't a Christmas party where the town was getting together. They're going to celebrate, pulling names to give out some gifts to anybody. This wasn't a Christmas party where the corporate store of the town was getting together and said, let's all go down and let's have a jolly good time, pass some Christmas cookies around. This wasn't a Christmas party of normal individuals. Okay. This Christmas party was an award banquet for the search and rescue team. Yes, the search and rescue team that searched for people in the forest. At that time, when that man drove down there, they was having a party or somewhere nearby. They called, they was having a party, meaning, if anything, everybody was already there. Everybody of experience, everybody who, the Navy SEALs, the swimming ducks, all of them are sitting in one bowl. And if they're about to get an award about the great job that you've done, when somebody said, well, shit, let's go finish it. Let's go find this kid. It's a party. But one person who was over the party, who got the phone call, decided to wait to make sure, is it a real search and rescue? Now, who determines a situation like that, right? I don't called you and told you my kid is missing. It is fucking real. It's now real. It just got real, to be exact. And they had to make a decision, or whoever it was, to decide, do I pass the message along until we know he's missing for show? And that's a slang term. Not for sure, for show. They wanted to make sure, was he missing for show? What would you have done? Tell me. Put it in the chat. If you find out now later that the whole search and rescue team was nearby, not 5 or 6 people, the whole team were already sitting nearby and could have engaged themselves or formulated a plan or something instead of 5 hours later, and they can't get to your kid. This is ridiculous. Okay. I would have been like, you know what? I don't know what I would have done, but I know that we would have had an issue when it came down to that. Also, Bob, the grandfather, was out by a lake. And this is still going on duration. And he found a hole in the ice. So by this time, the lake is frozen over. He saw a footprint, one child's print, and a hole in the ice. Now they're terrified because he's like, maybe Derek fell into the water. So it's cold. They can't do anything about it. Now they're getting to a point where maybe he's dead. Now we just need to find evidence, right? The body. Or should I say they're looking for closure. They want to find some closure at this point. So now they're not finding any bodies, and then when the spring thawed out, the scuba diver team came and said, let's check and see, maybe he fell into this water. Now, okay, something could have happened. He could have been eaten by fish, maybe something out there, a bear, or I don't think it's no freshwater alligators out there. I don't know. But one thing for certain, the hatchet, remember I told you about the hatchet that he was playing with, had he fell in there with the hatchet, it would have fell down into the bottom and been into the sediment. So it would have still been there. It wouldn't have dissolved. It wouldn't have done nothing, but it would at least gave evidence that he fell here and possibly now he's out there somewhere, wherever. Now, Judith says, now wondering if a sick individual knew about the party, saw the boy, grabbed him, then the police made it a cover up. That is something, Judith, I thought about too, because the sheriff department quickly wouldn't go search. Wouldn't go search, but they ruled out that a passerby grabbed this dude or this kid. And so they ruled it out. So they was like, nah, and so they began to say that maybe he died, and his remains were scattered by animals. All right. So let's now start tying into the extraterrestrial alien part. Okay. Because this is going to be kind of normal all across the board. If he was or met something of a sort out there in these woods, who's now saying, it is my house, baby. This is my house. And, and this is going to be a problem when it comes down to this scenario, because they didn't find any body parts. If it had been an animal, we would have known about it, right? Maybe you've seen some clothes. The animal not going to swallow him whole. He's 8 years old. Maybe you would have seen his shirt, something, his hatchet. Animal's not going to swallow the blade, and cut itself swallowing this thing. So now we got to a point. Now, why is this so crucial is because this is some of the same stuff that happens with a lot of these missing people. Okay. So we'll get into that in our second story. So at this point, the father, the grandfather, most of the family members, nobody's talking to each other right now. They're pissed. They're blaming each other. The father's blaming his father. And I mean, think of the generational pain right here. The grandfather, his son is mad at him because he feels that he lost his son's kid, which is his grandson. The grandson is missing, third generation. The second generation of man is now missing his son, but he's mad at his dad because he felt that he lost his son, but then he's upset and holding himself because he couldn't find his son. And he had to look at his wife, who's, telling them every weekend they're going out now, that every weekend after they get out of work, because, they're trying to do their own private search now. They go bankrupt because they're spending tons of money hiring teams. And, a lot of prayer, praying and God, please return my kid. And what makes you go from prayer to psychics now? Could you imagine the disconnect of telling the church who's praying for you, praying for your son, and they're holding vigils, and now you say, fuck that. I'm going to go to some psychics now. Well, this has done got real. So, now you changing everything, when it comes to this. And that's one of those things I think, let's see. Oh, sorry. Wow. All right. Streaming right now. I'm getting texts. All right. So, yeah, there you go, Summer. You're right. So at this point, you're gonna lose faith. I mean, that can happen to anybody. That can happen to the preacher of the church, right? Or whoever, not that they're different from anyone else, but I'm saying you go from praying, everybody's praying for you, and now you start telling everybody, you know what? Hell no. I'm fit to go hire a psychic. I'm fit to go hire, some people on the other side of this thing who, let's go more of a spiritual realm. Now, I would think if his parents decided to hire a psychic, it had to cross their mind that there could have been a possibility. Now, I don't think anybody approached him with the joke, oh, Bigfoot got your kid. I mean, that would have been too much of a joke, right? That would have been too much of a freaking joke. Let me put this on vibrate here. You know what I'm saying? And everything else. That'll have been too, I know, right? And that would have been too much of a joke if somebody would say, oh, maybe Bigfoot got him, right? Okay, that's fine. But the fact that they had to go from prayer to now they're going to psychics. Now, another part of the story that really got out of control a little bit was there was a story of another little boy named Dereck. His name was Dereck. He was in Texas, and he was about the same age. So people thought, that was him. And this little boy ran into a gentleman, and this guy offered him $100 to mow his yard, a stranger. Now, parents, this is once again one of the worlds that we live in. The guy offered him, money and said, hey, you can cut my yard or whatever. And when he got into the car, he said on July 11th, 2000, Frank Milligan, he was a 31-year-old state youth authority worker. This dude worked for the state, okay? And he approached this 10-year-old boy. Now, reason why they thought it could have been Dereck, because this is 2000. Derrick Engebretson came up missing in 1998. So this boy's 10 years old. So that makes sense. If it was Dereck, his 2 years done passed, he would have been 10. Now, the other side of this story, he looked like him. Okay, they said that they thought it was him. He looked like the old Derek as he would have been 2 years later. And this worker who was a youth worker, okay, authority worker, all right, approached this boy at a Dallas park where I live right now in Dallas, offered him $100 to mow his lawn, and when the boy got in the car, he asked him, "Do you want to live or die?" Now, how do we get this facts? How do we know what the man said to the boy, right? Well, what happened was Milligan bounds this little boy's hand, okay? Derek, his name is Derek, bounds Derek's hand, take him by force down this dirt road, and he sexually assaulted Derek, okay? Now, obviously, whatever the question he asked him, do you want to live and die, didn't freaking matter, okay? Because Milligan choked the boy. Yep. He choked this 10-year-old boy. He slammed him face in the dirt. The little boy remembers. And then he slammed him so hard he blacked out because it's the last thing the boy remembers. But then the guy did the unthinkable. He slit the boy's throat, left him for dead. And the boy ultimately awakened, went down to the side, back up the dirt road, met an ongoing passing car. Someone stopped and helped him. And so he survived the ordeal to live to tell the story. Now, the other part of this, during this attack, Milligan, this authority worker, he was a social authority worker working somewhere in Dallas for social, right? He was out on bail for another sexual assault. You know, he was out on bail for another. Good evening, Victoria, long time. He was out on bail for another assault, right? It kind of reminds me, I don't know if y'all paid attention to this. I saw it on the airways, and I hope it wasn't true. There was a shooter that was in one of these grocery stores a month ago, whoever he was. He went in there and shot some people at the store. Apparently, our court system said he deserves a trial. Look it up. And he gets out on bail, and he goes and shoots some people at another store again. And they arrested him recently, right? Now, this one ain't getting on news coverage much because they can't put that out there, that we let this dude out and on bail, even though he was shooting some folks, we let him out. And he said, got a hold to another gun, some kind of way, wasn't being watched, and went back to a store and shot some people again. So the same thing with this dude. He works for a social company. So, I mean, he was a social worker. He's out on bail for sexually assaulting another kid, 11-year-old boy in 1997, which was 3 years prior. He ultimately finds this boy. Now, something about those sexual predators. They said this is, and I'm not going to offend anyone out here who knows or experienced this personally, but supposedly this is one thing that's not curable at some point. The sexual predator thing is not a curable thing. It's a desire, it's something, and they do it, and they do it once, they're going to do it again, supposedly, or allegedly. Maybe he did, and others. All right, so as we get ready to come to more of a close to this story and then tie in some stuff to get into the next ones, which you're going to be really blown away, because I'm going to skip a few things. Well, there was a detective in Dallas that worked this case with Frank Milligan, and Frank then admits that he killed Derek. Okay, and that was this hoax stuff before. There was some people painted some stuff on one of the Oregon bathroom forests, like rest stops, and said that Derek was buried. And so they did go out looking for his body, and the FBI said, no, that was a hoax. But this guy said he did it, and he said he confessed to do it. Now, the parents were so still emotionally torn in this thing, and even they went back to a cellmate of the Frank Milligan, and the cellmate said that while they was in jail, Frank admitted that he kidnapped Derek. Now, this was national news. And I'm thinking, I've seen it in many movies where these prisoners get these stories and try to see if they can use it to get themselves out. And I've seen prisoners admit stuff in some stories like Shawshank Redemption, and he gets shot because he was going to get old boy scat out free. Yeah, so, okay, cool. All right, so yeah, we'll do that. So this is, yeah, okay, cool. All right, so one of the things that he is in trouble for, once again, is what has happened at this point. So the guy said he went to admit it, that he was going to do it. I mean, that he did it, that he, kidnapped this kid and blah, blah, blah. And so they was like, okay, he's going to admit it. Now, apparently he was already, I guess now it's going to get the death penalty. So he said, if the Engebretons sign a waiver that I don't get the death penalty, then I will admit that I did this, even though they found no body, no evidence, and the parents signed it because I guess they just want closure. They just want somebody to say, this is what happened to your kid. This is what happened to your child, right? So they wanted somebody to admit this thing, and apparently they signed it, gave it to him, and guess what? Obviously got some kind of moral compass, maybe. He didn't sign it. Now, could you imagine if he was just joking? I would have said, you know what? You don't need the death penalty. We're going to take the last dime we got. We'll make sure you're going to get, whatever. We get the biggest dudes in there, biggest everything, and they just need to pound you forever. We'll just put it on money on their books. Every time they give me a receipt that you got like 12 poundings this month, and I say, well, bonus for 13, I'll give y'all extra $100, whatever. You just make sure they punish him year, daily, hourly, minutely, every day. They just punish him for playing with me like that, right? Because obviously he's playing with these people. And now you got them all emotional. They drive down 5 hours. Now he's saying, give me something. I'm going to bring some closure. And they're just out of it. They just here. Just say that you did it so we can at least know something. Just get us some sleep. We know something happened to our kid. Because right now all this doesn't add up. That didn't go down. All right. So at this point, let's get into some details before we move to the next story. Obviously, at this point, this is a little different because the kid is missing. He came up missing. There was no evidence, just like most of all these forest things. Nobody kind of knew what he was going. And so at this point, let's just get into what I call my little theory of what's going on. So let's see. Make sure you guys check out the Phenom app. You want to definitely check this app out so that you can download it on iOS or the Apple Store, okay? This is going to allow you to, if you see a UFO or something flying around or paranormal, cryptids or whatever, you're going to be able to report this in real time. Now, they're setting up a section for high strangeness, and so you'll be able to log in, join that particular group, and then we as a community too can communicate with each other in real time, as well as UFO sightings and everything. Is absolutely free. It's in beta stage, so they're working things out. Make sure you just go ahead and get you a part of that. Celeste, as you know, has her journals. If you like doodling and journaling, which you should, keep up with what's going on in your life, definitely get that. She supports the show here. Celeste Critter, educator, publisher, author, and artist. She designed those covers herself and everything else. So you definitely want to check that out. Last but not least, I have an ebook. Want your support. Download your copy today. You go to my name, roderickmartin.com, get you a copy. There's a lot of stuff in there from the UFO conspiracies, a lot, about 30 different things that you're going to learn, things you probably only know about as a UFO investigator. It's in that ebook for you to get you some little knowledge and have that conversation this Christmas when you want to talk about those things. And so real quickly with Derrick Eberton, like I said, they never found his body. They never found any reminiscences of it. The rumors has it there's people right now that are being looked at and family members. People are being accused of possibly where they could have done something to this kid. You know, there are just so many rumors and things out there. Now, once again, David Pilates, who, if you know, Missing 411, did a lot of stories when it came down from elk, or not elk, when people out on elk hunting and all of this stuff. And so it's just a crazy thing there that you can kind of look into, but it happens when it comes down to this, and pretty much. And so let's get into another part here. This particular guy's story is, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Jaron. Yeah. Okay. This dude, this is yeah. So I got a story for Corey Fay. So we're getting his next. But this one is Jaron Kirk. Okay. He came up missing in the Mount Hood National Forest. All right. Now take a look at this guy. He's pretty fit. All right. He's pretty fit. And no, I haven't started the Phenom. They actually was checking the Phenom team out, but they hadn't put it together. We'll find out. But this guy is pretty fit. Okay. And so let's give us a little story on here. Jaron is his name. He was 31 years old. He took a lot of solo trips in the woods as a knowledgeable and experienced outdoorsman. Okay. So this dude had a lot of experience. People known him to go out there and go into these forests all the time. So, but on December the 3rd, 2014, he left home to hike in the Mount Hood National Forest, and he had planned to return on December the 6th. So it wasn't uncommon that this guy, Jaron, would go into the woods, stay a few days, you know, maybe tell his grandmother, wife, girlfriend, baby, I'm just going into the woods to get away from some things. I've seen you about 3 days. Everybody like, okay, shit, he's gone. And you got to have you got to be a great person that you want to go sit out there at night and burn a little fire and just you and the thing or whatever. So he had planned to return on December the 6th. And on this occasion, however, he did not leave any details with his family. Now, this gets a little spooky a little bit. So he always leave details about where he was going, okay? And now this one's got a little conspiracy tied to it, all right? So his sister, Whitney Kirk Altman, reported Kirk missing on Sunday the 7th. So she's like, you know what? He usually come back on time. He's gone, and now he's missing. But the search was delayed until Monday the 8th, since the search and rescue crews cannot be dispatched until the vehicle was located to determine a starting point. That makes a lot of sense. Nobody knew where he was because he would have to give out instructions. They couldn't start looking for somebody that they don't know where he was, because this time he did not leave any instructions. And so they said, well, did he drive his car? Yeah. Let's try to find the vehicle, because he had to park it somewhere. And once we find the vehicle, we can determine a point of origin to look for this guy, because that just makes sense. So I have no problem versus Derek's story, 5 or 6 hours for a Christmas party or awards party for what you do that nobody was told because they wanted to make sure everybody got their awards. Okay. We'll get off of that. But originally from Milwaukee, Oregon, Kirk attended Portland Public Schools Vocational Village High School. And for many years, he worked as a mission representative at the University of Phoenix in Arizona. And he was soon returned to Portland, and he enrolled at Portland Community College to study business. Now, after transferring his credits from National University, he completed his first term online courses, and he completed his bachelor's degree, and he planned to pursue a master's degree. During his marriage to Kristen, he was happy. He had a happy marriage, but it soon ended as the couple divorced after several years and shared joint custody of his daughter, Gabriella, who is 5 years old. So apparently the backstory is setting up the point that the guy had some life. You know, he had potential to do something. He had no reason so far or whatever. You know, he got a daughter. Okay, maybe the divorce can drive you into the woods. You know, there are some, I always talk about the she-wolf on my part, but it can drive you into the woods, but we don't know. So maybe that was the deal that was happening there. Now, in the early morning, Monday on December the 8th, remember he went on the 3rd. He was supposed to come back on the 6th. Sister reported missing on the 7th. The search party rescue decided to go on the 8th to look for him. And a family member found his gold Pontiac Grand Am parked in the parking lot of Frog Lake off of US 26, focusing the search in the heavily wooded areas near the campsite. In addition to this, police were also able to locate his cell phone. Man, I wish I had some music for that one. Dun, 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 dun. After pinging it, in this case, he would have driven to Clackamas County in Wasco County. Okay. So the search and rescue shifted to Wasco County officer rather than the Clackamas County sheriff office. So at this point, his car is here. They ping his phone because this is 2014. Phones now are there. And they ping his phone, and so he's located somewhere else in these woods. Perfect. Let's track him. Let's find him. Now, the search for the missing person took place near Frog Lake and Twin Lake, which lasted around 9 days. It was coordinated by the Wasco County Sheriff Office with the assistance, listen to this, y'all, 170 people, volunteers. Also participating in search was sniffer dogs and infrared detecting surveillance aircraft. And it was mostly in a damp area over the mountain period, which of the search with the temperature slightly above freezing, meaning he wasn't going to freeze to death. He had been cold, and the snow level usually low for December. Hey, let me say this again. This is the part why people tie this in. Me, if you didn't know who I am, let me put it up here on the board real quick so you know why I'm sitting here talking about this thing. You know, I'm a UFO investigator. I've been on Roswell shows for UFOs, Open Minds with Regina talking about it, George Norrie, Alien Endgame. I hosted that show on the Discovery Channel. Forbidden Knowledge, Black Knight Satellite. I have an 8 TV series thing on Forbidden Knowledge TV. Been featured on Ancient Aliens. Also, if you look up right now on Amazon Prime, there's a show I'm in called I Want to Believe. It just came out. I'm in the other one. Well, the first one. I'm in the second one. I Want to Believe 2. There's another one called Bigfoot. I'm in that one too. All right. So here's why we tie this in. And let me go back real quick. 170 volunteers, sniffer dogs, infrared surveillance aircraft, meaning they can pick up any heat signatures. Damn near they'll pick up a mole rat running through the forest, okay? Now, here's something that kicks this thing, and it also changes the story up just a little bit. And we'll get into this right now. The search and rescue groups participating in this thing included Monmouth County Search and Rescue, Pacific Northwest Search and Rescue, Lake County Search and Rescue, Clatsop County Search Office, Clatsmith County Search Off and Rescue, Waller County Sheriff and Search and Rescue, Clickett County Sheriff Office, Mountain Wave Emergency Communication, Salvation Army, the Trauma Invention Program, Zigzag, Welch's, Sandy, Bud's Towing of Oregon, the Milwaukee Presbyterian Church, volunteers from several businesses, and government camp. Why were they looking for this dude, man? They needed to find him. Now, he was not found despite all of these efforts. And the fact that his cell phone was pinging him in the direction of the lake from the area of South Frog Lake was strange. Dun, 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 dun. But the search effort seems to be focused on the vicinity of the Northeast in the area of Twin Lakes, which is unusual unless the media reported the location incorrectly. Now, they have a Facebook page for him. And let me put his picture back up. Why not? Just somebody might see him. There you go. Boom. You might be out there and hiding and cutting your yard. You know, who knows? But people, when you got this many moving parts, searching for people all over these mountains, I don't care what the evidence say. This is why it is important to know something bigger is happening in these forests. All of these different forests. When you send in one area, just 170 people, flying aircraft with electronic infrared, and you got dogs sniffing around, and then you have all of these organizations looking for one person, and they find zero. I'm not saying if we find his tracks and it disappeared. Hang on. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that if you find something, his tracks, or you find something in particular, and okay, what's today's date, y'all? All right. So just let y'all know, I'm just checking. I just got an email. Stephen Bassett, if y'all have heard of him, he is confirmed to be live here December the 19th. What day is that? Is that 8 o'clock? The 19th. Okay, so he's going to be here at 8 o'clock. I'll have a video loaded on Forbidden Knowledge as usual, but just know we're going to be live with Stephen Bassett on next Tuesday night right here. So we're going to be on this particular channel, okay? So just letting y'all know. So y'all be ready for that. All right, so at this point, what I'm saying is you don't find footprints, you don't find clothing, you don't find any reminiscences of anything. And these people totally vanish. Now we're talking portals, maybe. You can talk about spaceships if you want to. You can talk about somebody grabbed him and decided to carry him off, pick him up and throw him on his shoulder. But even if it was Bigfoot, you're going to find some tracks. You know, they knew that his cell phone was pinging somewhere else, but they didn't go there looking for him. They went the other way because they thought there was got to be a mistake. There's no way his cell phone is miles and miles away in this forest. See, this is what they knew because there was no way for him to get there. How could he have gotten from here through all of this? It would have took him weeks to walk over there. So how is they found his car over here and he's just been missing? And even if it was 3 days, he can't walk that far anyway. He's still in the forest. So the cell phone is pinging somewhere totally different. And that was enough for them to go, maybe somebody reported this shit wrong. Because it was unthinkable. And they're saying to themselves, that could not be happening. See, this is where we get to these points where we got to think about this stuff in a minute. All right. So in a minute, we got one more story. As y'all can see, I'm catching a cold or something just as fast. Again, I just got over one. It just hit me while we sitting here. I'm seriously. And so if you want to come on and talk about these stories in a little bit, I'll put it in chat and you all can come on and say whatever. But I'm saying that is something for you to think about. And let me say it again. How could these many people be wrong? How could make sure I got this right. Oh, let me get my sheet of paper back here. Yeah. Okay, that's his first page. Yeah, so how could the Maletta County Search and Rescue, Pacific Northwest Search and Rescue, Lake County Search and Rescue, Clapsouth County Sheriff's Office, Clapmus County Sheriff Office and Rescue, Wallowa County Sheriff Search and Rescue, Klickitat County Sheriff Office, Mountain Wave Emergency Communications, the Salvation Army, which we know these are I don't know, Trauma Invention Program. They were like, shit, let's just go out here. Somebody called Zigzag. I don't even know who that is. Maybe y'all can look that up. Welch's and Sandy, whoever that is. Bud's Towing of Oregon. Why was they involved? Maybe they said we're going to go tow the car back. But hey, shit, I appreciate y'all. the Milwaukee Presbyterian Church, and volunteers from other businesses, on top of the 170-something people, on top of the airplanes, on top of the dogs. And like I say, his cell phone was pinging in a direction to Clear Lake, which was south of Frog Lake, which was strange. But they said, no, this cannot be. And let's still look for him where his car is. Because he could have got abducted by aliens. And they moved this dude so quickly. And they just thought it was just unbelievable. See, that's the problem with this thing, right? They felt that it could not be the scenario that this dude could have something like this happen. Yeah, he could have ran into a spaceship sitting out there in the woods, and they could have ducked him and picked him up, and then all of a sudden, catch him on the move. That's not like it's not possible. But because we got people thinking it's not possible, they don't think outside the box and say, how could his cell phone be way up by Clear Lake pinging? Damn. Go look for the cell phone then. Forget what the car was. Go find out why the cell phone is pinging way on over there. I mean, somebody should have made that decision, or maybe they wouldn't have done it. There's a reason. See, when you start looking at all these other people that's involved in this thing, somebody in this group knew the truth. And somebody vetoed, they had to say, no, we just going to focus, and we're going to focus, look for Roderick's car, because Roderick's too big to be walking 10, 20 miles through the forest on the other side where his phone is pinging. Man, my phone is pinging. Roderick big ass made it over there. Go find me. Come and find me. You go, I don't know. Let me get out of it, because that makes me a little ticked off. All right, so let's move to the last story, and then we're going to open up some conversation here. Yeah, wrong decision again when it comes down to the possibility of what's happening. And that's one of the things that I like to say, and pretty much because we are not paying attention. All right, so this story here, why not split up and go look? There you go. Isn't their job to check every lead? Not when they can't see. Here's the thing about it. Y'all listen up. The reason we have issues in our congressional side of things, reason we have issues with Congress and a lot of these things, because especially when it comes down to the UFO programs, sightings, you name it. We can name it anything you want. The reason we have issues with those things is simply because there's a religious factor involved with some of these senators, congressmen. See, if they're on one hand going to protect us for national security, same thing with whatever could have been happening here. When something challenges your imagination, your belief system, you're just not going to go there. So that's the problem we have now in our congressional hearing. We got some people religiously won't sign the paperwork to go look for the aliens, UFOs, even though we have evidence that they're here, because their religions tell them it's not real. But yet they're in positions and people are not calling them out saying, hey, you need to put your freaking religion to the side. National security comes first because you took an oath. But they can't go there because you can't get politically correct and say, remove this person because of religion, right? But you at least try to put somebody else over a special ops, because I don't want somebody to not come looking for me because they religious believe that I couldn't been abducted by an alien. So therefore, I'm not going to waste the resources to look for Roderick or anybody. I'm telling you, that goes down quite frequently, just letting you know. All right, anybody with me? Any questions? Anybody want to add to the conversation? Anybody got courage? I know everybody's either doing something where you can't come on live, and I mean, I get it all. I'm starting to write down all the stuff that y'all write, the reasons that y'all can't, and it gets funny every day in a great way though. Okay, I love you guys. So, but I just love reading all the reasons and everything else, and pretty much. So we got this last one here with Corey Fay. This is a good one. I think this is going to give us some real good stuff to going to go into a little bit. And Damon said, so did anyone go look where the phone was? No. They felt that it was a waste of resources to go so far away, because from that Frost Lake and from where it was, deemed that it was impossible that a person made it through the woods, even within the days that he was gone, could have trekked from there to way, I don't know how many miles and miles it was away, but through the terrain, it would have been virtually impossible over mountains and hills and all that somebody could have made it over there. And if his cell phone was pinging, then that is just not happening. So his car was over here. So it made sense for them to say, well, he got out over here. Let's start over there and we can work our way around. But we do know if he's over there, his cell phone. And so that was one of the things. But they were professionals. Yeah, another missed opportunity. That's correct. And yeah, you want the professionals looking for you. I mean, I gave y'all the pedigree of some of these people. They had, 170 volunteers. They had dogs. I mean, they didn't have, Roscoe Pico trained. I mean, they had like some German Shepherd, Ricky Tintin and whoever. They had some real dogs looking for this dude. And then they had infrared detecting surveillance craft. So you're talking airplanes picking up. So they did not have not a good thing to go looking for him. They had some stuff. And so they're pretty much doing it as well. I'm not going to get it back on bonnets and stuff, but now if he was wearing a bonnet, no, don't go look for him. Let him go and stay out there. Inside joke for the new people. That's all. We had a bonnet night the other night. Okay. So, all right. So the last story that we're going to talk about here is this guy right here. His name is Corey Fay. Corey Fay presumably was born. Now, he was born May 13th, 1974, and they just marked him no date. See, ain't that like weird? You had to put that on somebody's tombstone. November, no date. We don't know. And so many things left unsaid, many memories to stay forever in our lives. Meaning they put it on there. We don't know what happened to him. We just don't know. Yeah, we don't know. All right. So I know the bonnet thing was a little too much, but if you're wearing a bonnet and you go missing, we're not looking for you. That's the law of high strangeness. We're not coming. Take it off, and then we'll look for you. They should have followed through. Yes. All right. So the story here is about this guy. Once again, his name is Cory. Well, talk about teleworking in my shower cap. Boy, I tell you, y'all are so great. So Corey Fay, a student at Beaverton Jesuit High School. Cory was 17 years old. It was November the 23rd, 1991, when he agreed to go elk hunting with a friend of his dad's. And this guy's named Mark Malpin, and possibly his son, West Ty Valley. And on the edge of Badger Creek Wilderness is where they went. And on a particular day, Cory's father, the owner of a Northwest Investment Cars, decided not to go. So the father said, I'm not going. Son, you can go ahead and go. Now, move the clock up a little bit, and a year later, his remains were found in an area waist-deep snow. Now, see, this was going to get good because they actually found some stuff. So pay attention to this story. Me and the Moon, y'all, we need to change this to Queen Bonnet. Me and the Moon, remember, she was the biggest advocate of bonnets. All of y'all was. Yeah, y'all have a whole bonnet tribe. All right, so a year later, his remains were found in an area waist deep snow. Okay, so you're talking 4 or 5 foot of snow away from the vehicle, 10 miles away from the vehicle where he disappeared that day. So what happened to Cory when he was in Badger Creek? Now, due to his training, he was outdoor survival techniques and experience as a hunter. So the dude was a hunter. He knew how to hunt. So if he was born, how old was it? Y'all do the math. he was born in 1974, and 1991 is when he came up missing. So somebody do the math real quick so we can give him some age. I don't have my calculator. Oh, there it is. But somebody do it. How old was he? There it is right there on the screen. So give me an age right now. So I'll know. So we can compare this to things that he was doing here. Okay, so, all right. I guess I can figure it out. Maybe y'all a little busy there. 1991 was his name, was his age minus 19. All right, so he was 17. Thank y'all. So he was 17 years old. Now, due to his training in outdoor survival techniques and experience as a hunter, Corey knew what to do in an emergency environment. He had a compass, emergency solar blanket, food, rifle, ammunition, as well as a backpack made up the remainder of his trip's equipment. Okay? So here's an experienced dude. Now, I want to point something out to you early on that may not, you might have all, none of you catched it if you have not paid attention to David Pilati's last documentary, The UFO Connection. Fay was going elk hunting. This is a significant turn of events, or not turn of events, a key evidence or circumstance. David Pilati starts saying that there was a lot of UFO sightings in these forests that was connected to elk. And at the time, they had probes and called videos of probes picking up elk, taking them to the spacecraft. Now, you will think, okay, they're eating these things, but that's not what is happening here. And we got to do a little more research. There is something called zombie disease that he said is going to hit our mainstream in about another 2 to 3 years. And out there is some zombie disease that is affecting deer and elk, and they can't figure it out. They don't know what is happening, but soon it'll be into the food supplies, probably, or not supply, but the food, whatever, and chain or whatever. And what's interesting is they think that, like we've always said, the ETs are here, some type of galactic federation, that they are studying these things, trying to figure out how to cure it, because they're not putting it out there, because otherwise they wouldn't keep scooping up these elk trying to figure this thing out. So obviously they're trying to fix something at some point. And so just go back to that. He was elk hunting. So if he's out there elk hunting, looking for elk, knowing what an elk is, and the ETs are already, trying to get some here and there, studying them, perfect match, right? So here's the deal. Arriving at the wilderness around 6:30 p.m., the three men, there was three of them, because you got to remember him, the friend's dad, and the other dude's son. They split up and arranged to meet back at the car within 1 hour. So they go, you go here, you go there, we'll come back in an hour. Apparently, the group was captured on CCTV as they went through a McDonald's drive-thru in Hood River around 6 a.m. that morning. And so 12 hours before, they all was together or so. So could it be that the 6 o'clock reporting was incorrect and was actually 6 o'clock in the morning, meaning they report that they got there at 6:30 in the evening as versus anything else. And at that time of the year, the sun sets around 4:40. So now there's a little discrepancy in the story, because now they're saying they got there at 6:30, and people say they saw him at McDonald's at 6 a.m. And if they are saying that he came up missing whenever they all reported it at 6:30 in the afternoon, then they're saying, no, something is wrong. The times are not matching up. So hint, hint, keep that to the side as we can do that. She said, as soon as I said elk, I knew it would be weird. Yeah. So they saying that at the time of the year, the sun sets around 4:40 p.m. So the hunting was late, and that would be very unusual, trying to shoot an elk at night in the dark. Okay. But hunting after dark may actually be illegal in some states too. I'm not really for sure. Maybe y'all can do some research on that. Now, hunting was difficult due to the cold weather, and Maupin later told investigators that the area is well known for the presence of elk, and yet he did not see any on that particular day. See? And it's my first time going to this part. All right. I just said it, right? I ain't even read this part yet. That there were a lot of the extraterrestrials were, David Pilati said that he saw them gathering lots and lots of elk. They was gathering elk. So as soon as I read up here at the beginning that he was looking for elk, I was like, okay, he's already in harm's way because this is something that's secretly happening right now. And now the guy said they was in an area where they normally see lots of elk, but they didn't see any that day. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, there's something happening in these forests. It really is. Make me want to just play our little opening again. So let me just do it so I can give you a little navigation to where we are right now. Right back. All right, so hunting was a little difficult due to the cold weather. And once again, Maupin said later he told investigators there was a well-known presence of elk, yet they did not see any that day. There was no sign of Cory in the vehicle as well as he returned. So meaning, even if there was no elk to hunt, Cory would have returned, all right? So that's part of that. They would have returned. Now, after searching the area for Cory and finding no sign of him, the group called the Wasco County Sheriff's Office and reported him missing. Listen to this. About 250 searchers from Rocky Mountain Search and Rescue Base at Salt Lake was involved in a rescue effort, including helicopters, horsemen, hikers, listen to me closely, 7 of the mother freaking best search dogs in the world. They didn't say any dogs came. This is like Colorado dogs at Deion Sanders. We got some dogs. I'm going to bring in the dogs. They said 7 of the best trained dogs in the world. The team searched for 10 days, 10 square miles without finding any single signs of this dude. I'm just going to pause right there. I'm going to pause right there. People that they, when this stuff happens out there, somebody know we need to look, we need to find them fast. Otherwise, we're not going to find people. Obviously, they know this now. This is normal to send so many people so fast, and they know that something is going to happen. They know it now. They're not sending 2 or 3 people going to go look. They're sending hundreds because they know it takes so many people to look and find the missing. Okay? Ain't nothing out there can bring somebody missing that fast and 250 people, except for it's non-earthly. It has to be, unless he just fell into a portal somewhere, right? This is why we already know abductions happen already. We know this. So we can't assume that they just want to hang around and get somebody out of the city. It is very smart and intelligence to grab some people out there in the forest. The fact that they're doing these kids is another thing, but these young folks, they're grabbing them. And I'm saying 250 people was looking for this dude. And they have night vision, goggles, all types of stuff. You got that right. Yeah. Fuckers wearing bonnets too. Shit. Bulletproof bonnets and bonnets with fucking machine radars off inside the bonnets. And you know what I'm saying? Navigation systems can fit in the bonnets. Hell, fucking tents can fit up in them big ass bonnets, you know? Hell, they bonnet back and they can't find him. Let me get off the bonnets though. No more bonnet jokes, I promise. It ain't even funny. So, but listen closely though. You're right, see, Greg, it could have been a portal. It could have been something that he walked into. And this is why I'm gonna be doing a lot of I don't find 70 stories. One of them, I'm gonna give y'all a hint, was a 2-year-old girl came up missing, right sitting two feet behind her people, and they grabbed her. 12 days, hundreds of people look for this kid. 12 days, and the kid show up out of a cloud of mist, no clothes on, asking, "Where's my mama?" 12 days. Can a kid go 12 days without food and water in the forest where it's cold, no clothes on? All right, we'll get to that one. I'm gonna do that one next week. And so, although the official search ended December the 1st, 1981, many volunteers continued searching for several weeks afterwards. And when the sheriff's office did not know what to do, y'all listen to this one, the FBI was called in. Normally, the FBI wouldn't be called in for a case of disappearance. So there was likely foul play involved. The FBI was called in on this one, and they normally don't call them. Foul play, right? Okay. Now here's the deal. Listen to where we at now. This is why I tell y'all the shit gets really one of these things. Anybody find any value today? If you want to contribute to the show tonight, or should I say the same thing I'd say? Can somebody test my Cash App? Just see if it works. But test it big. I mean, test it like, bam, hit that bad boy. Well, anyway, it's up there. Around 10 miles from where Cory left the other members of the group to be hunting, listen closely. 2 hunters found Cory's backpack, a rifle, nearly a year later. Okay? Let me go back to the first page so y'all can see why we be talking about this stuff. And so if you go back to where they were searching, they did a 10-mile square radius, okay, looking for this dude. All right, so about 10 miles from where Cory left the other one, they found his backpack, his gun, nearly a year later. All right, listen closely, ladies and gentlemen. Let me show you something real quick. Y'all pay attention to this right here. All right. It's just kind of a little thing. This is a spaceship. It flies. It moves quickly. It can go from here to here within seconds. It can go up and down. We have no technology that moves like a spaceship. A mile, y'all listen to this story. Okay, pay attention. Turn the water off and turn down the TV. A mile away from the other items on the same ridge, about 6,500 feet up, Cory's jacket was found following a more thorough search of the surrounding area. One tooth, a small bone fragment was found a quarter of a mile from his backpack. Yeah, you heard me. So all these people searched for this dude in a 10-mile radius. A year later, in a 10-mile radius, we find his gun. We find some clothes, maybe, I think they said. His backpack, his rifle. Now we're going to find, right from that, we find some tooth, some small bone fragments, and, a couple of things. They didn't find like blood. They didn't find all these other parts. They found all of this a mile away. Okay. So now it's a whole different story, It's a whole different story. I don't know if it was propped up or under a tree, but I would imagine. Now, here's the other part. What was most surprising, though, was the absence of his pants, his boots, and his socks. The grid searches of the ridgeline across the distance of 1 1/4 miles failed to find any large bones and normally associated with skeletons such as ribs. So what they're saying is, if this had been some animal attack, If this had been, foul play, we would have found his boots. Because they would have his socks. They would have found his pants. They would have found other stuff besides the tooth and some bone fragments that they found. And, and his gun, of course. And of course his backpack had all of his survival gear in it, right? They found this. But what I'm saying is it wasn't there before. This is another stuff that they talk about in the missing 411s and all of this, that most of the people, when they were searching for these missing people, what baffled them the most was they would come back and either find bodies or something. Like I got another story I'm working on. We'll probably do this Friday. This dude had a bad leg, right? Barely could walk. And they found his body now way up a mountain, as though he walked up there himself. And it wasn't where anybody can carry him up there. And he didn't have wings. That's another story. So anyway, 6,500 feet in a 10-mile radius, way up, they find this dude's backpack and bone fragments. In a grid that they searched and they looked. And the way they search is if you find a tooth and bones of this dude, you should be able to find other bones because, hell, the dogs and rabbits and cats and bears, oh my. It's a different story. All right. So now they're saying Cory would have been covered in snow up to his waist for over 5 miles at the time of the discovery. Y'all hear that now? Saying if he even walked, he would have been covered in snow up waist deep for at least 5 miles. So there's no way he walked through it. He couldn't have walked through it. It was impossible. He'd have been dead, frozen, ice, ice cream, whatever. Because there's no way he would have been able to walk 5 miles in snow, chest high, and walk through it. Just going to walk through the snow. It's not going down. Not for 5 miles, 5 feet maybe. 50 yards would have been probably the max the body would have held before it went to, what's that? Hypothermia or whatever, where you're going to die. You know what I'm saying? But 5 miles? Did this dude walk 5 miles and he was able to do that? Now, I got Harry out the picture right now on purpose. These dudes here. I just didn't want no distractions with Harry today. Someone said, I believe he could have suffered from hypothermia. During hypothermia, you start to feel like you're overheated, burning alive. It will make you take your clothes off and pull your teeth out. The dude pulled his tooth out. And then hypothermia is going to pull out a few bone fragments, and just get that out. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to leave my gun and backpack. I get it. He could have been delusional, but I don't know. All right, so let's finish up the story. We got a lot more. We got about a couple more pages. There's some good stuff in here, okay? So Cory was discovered, like I say, 5 miles. So in an article published in Eugene Register September 18, 1992, it was reported that authorities know the snow was deep there because a helicopter had spotted tracks during an intensive search for Fay last year. So a helicopter had already seen some tracks, but the tracks turned out to be animal tracks, but the snow was almost waist deep. And that was a good 3 miles from where the items were discovered yesterday, is what they said in the article. So you're talking tracks waist deep 3 miles later, and then we're going to find your clothes over here. And really? Now, the article later explains that the searchers didn't believe Fay could have gone as far as he did, and that it was odds that he was going uphill when he would have been going downhill. Okay, once again, Fay have gone as far as he did, and that it was odd that he was going uphill when he should have been going downhill. So even if he was lost, there's no way this dude is going up the hill. And you got to remember, he was already trained. He was young, but he was trained. He was outdoorsman. He was a hunter. He had survival skills. He knew his stuff. He was Navy, he was there. I wonder why those Pacific people are chosen for abductions, if an alien abduction. Let's see. Man. Oh, he had a bonnet. I'll be damned. The dude had a bonnet. So, no, I said I wasn't going to do no more bonnet jokes. I'm done with the bonnet jokes. All right, so listen up. It has also been verified that by the sheriff helicopter crews that during November 1981, Cory's tracks was also seen along a ridge line at the point of 3,000 feet higher and 10 miles from where he would have been hunting waist-deep snow. And because the terrain was so rough and the area was not common of hunting ground for elk, neither the group nor the searchers saw elk in this area anyway. Mystery, right? Are we talking about mystery? I should have just put some music behind this thing if I wanted to. You're talking. I mean, man, I'm telling you. Man, I just wanted to set the tone on that just a little bit, just to take a break. All right, so due to the particular circumstances and evidence, this was a very unusual case. That part. Some of the theories considered including an accidental shooting or foul play. According to the press, Cory may have been accidentally shot by another hunter looking for elk that wasn't there. Okay. So that was a possibility. He could have been shot by another hunter. And then Cory may have been accidentally shot by another hunter or someone in the group that he was with and buried him somewhere nearby. The dogs couldn't find him. They didn't smell cadaver dogs, sniffing dogs. Remember on this case, because they maybe suspected foul play before the FBI came in, they brought the best of the dogs. We talking dogs with the real noses, Toucan Sam noses, right? You know, that man. So they thought that perhaps somebody shot him and then dragged him away all these miles and then returned later after being 10 miles away to drop off his backpack, gun, and tooth. Listen to this. This is stuff that they were considering outcomes. That he was shot. Maybe somebody else shot him, buried him, took him through that snow on way 10 miles away. Perhaps somebody else shot him and dragged him through snow that was waist deep, 10 miles, then returned after all these people was out there still looking, and then being 10 miles away, dropped off his backpack and his gun and a tooth. So even if you can't be found, even if they done took you all these places and they done hid you and whatever, a human being would have said, okay, we got away with it, but I want them to find his gun, his tooth, and his backpack. Let's take that. Let's run the risk and take this all the way back to wherever. And I'm telling you, that is not human. It's not human at all. Okay? It's not human. So don't think so. And then some of the accounts state that a lie detector test was to be administered to the youngest of the hunting group. So now, just like anybody else, they start turning into like Derek's story. His father, his dad, they start having them take lie detector tests Because they like, we can't find, y'all must have did something. You know, it's like, if we, so now everybody's turning on each other. Same thing was here, that the lie detector test was administered to the youngest people of the hunting group. After discovering the backpack, the gun, and the tooth, this line of inquiry was abandoned. Okay. So they further had lie detectors test, and they was like, did y'all do it? And then all of a sudden, a year later, they find, okay, maybe the extraterrestrials or whoever did it was listening, and they decided to save these people because they knew these people were under interrogation, and said, look, just go back and plant his tooth, his whatever, his gun, so they can at least get out from under this cloud of speculation. I don't know. All right, so he was injured before the. All right, so after discovering the backpack and the gun, this line of inquiry was abandoned. Now the question was he injured before the hunt? Maybe he got hurt. There was reports that a surveillance tape showed another man driving Corey's pickup truck, which appears to be an animal or a corpse in the back. All kinds of stuff is going down. And although the McDonald's CCTV footage suggests that this wasn't the case, and authorities never investigated the lead. People said, okay, we saw somebody else with his truck. His body was in the back. No, they're looking at the damn McDonald's. They was in there together. He ain't in the back. So there was a wild theory that Corey's dad set him up on a hunting trip. Remember, his dad owned the car lot, and he didn't go with him. Now, could you imagine now it's turned on you, the dad, saying, hey, where's my son? He went with Bob. And, you know, Summer says, fun facts, humans can be trained to smell like dogs too. They can train to smell like dogs. And a study has done humans blindfolded on their knees and confined and follow scent trails. Shit. And I believe those because if you're blind, your senses are heightened. Okay, well, all right. I mean, there's a movie called See that's on Apple TV where the whole world is blind, you know, far in the future. And then, of course, sighted children was deemed witches. But all they senses was heightened. I mean, they was blind, and then the other dude was blind. Man, they was cutting people's heads off, fighting, throwing rocks and spears, and the lady be sit there with her eyes like this. Well, I'm just pretending, but they had eyes, but they was kind of glowed over. And dude was like, what is it? She'll be like, I smell fear. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. It's 200. No, it's 400 people. How the freaking, she was like, 400 people is coming. Just like that. And, you know, it was somebody walk in the room, be like, old girl was like, yeah, I know it's you. You've been inside of me. Yeah, it's you. Come on in here. It's like, whoa. It was on. And then it's probably the perfect world. You probably have a lot of love because you know how everybody's so, you know, visual these days. Then without sight, you might just fall in love with somebody who is ugly, but beautiful on the inside, where it's supposed to count. All right. So another part of this was that although the CD footage suggests that he wasn't there, so the wild theory of his dad setting him up on the hunting trip, and it was all his doing. So now they're saying his dad did it. And then they also saying hypothermia, I'm sorry. And then they would go, how long could he survived out there? And was a possibility that on the searchers found an old campsite, but that discovery wasn't confirmed. Okay, not at all. Angela says, Blue, that it's a good series. Oh, it's really good. I really like the series. I mean, there was a lot of stuff in it. Man raising another man's kids. And I'm not gonna go there, but the father of the kid was black, and the other guy was, you know, what's his name? Whatever her boyfriend, dude that played Aquaman. I mean, dude played a hell of a role in him. But anyway, he's raising the brother's kids, and they couldn't see each other anyway. Nobody knew, and it was some great actresses in it. The whole thing was just kind of phenomenal, and then books became the witchcraft, you know, to read, to understand, and books were, y'all got to see that whole series, 3 seasons. I binge watched that shit in 2 weeks. It was that good. I hated the end. Bubba Boss, it was his name. All right, so it was confirmed. Since there was so many searches done, it seemed unlikely that he survived long after he first went missing. You see what I'm saying? So they're saying there's no way that he went out there and hypothermia setting in where he couldn't be found walking in waist deep snow, 10 miles, 6,000 feet up, where they found his clothes, his backpack, and all of this stuff. And because there were just so many people searching for him and they couldn't find him. And they're saying if Corey fell down in the snow, he fell unconscious. And then he had maybe been succumbed to the cold, but he would have still been there. What point in walking through heavy snow so far where his car was located? So they're saying is, if that happened, what was the point of walking through the snow? And then after becoming disoriented, like they said, and walking uphill in a snowy area, Corey Fay's mother believed he may have died of hypothermia. So that's another part. You know, why would he walk up when he can walk down? And he would have been smart enough to know that much, right? He was smart enough to know, come back down. And once again, you know, we'll go through the facts here in a minute. So we're almost done, and we'll go into the alien stuff a little more. Suicide. So we're going through all the options. They said Corey Fay suffered through a difficult week at school, according to his school friends named Steve Lopez. And some of the older kids disliked him after he attended a party. And due to this, he was feeling down before the hunt. And he explained that he had been feeling down recently. Now, could he have been contemplating suicide or going missing? Now, okay, we understand that what's bullying and all that could have been happening. But this is a 17-year-old ninja. Okay, this dude knew how to hunt and all that. I don't think nobody really was bullying him. Not really. Would they? Well, I don't care. Maybe so, because he could have been a loner and all that stuff. So I'm not going to get into that part. And they're saying that, but we searched from there. We searched for days. We had hundreds of people searching. We had helicopters with night vision. There you go. Me and the moon. Yep. So they had helicopters with night vision. Okay. And there was no way if Corey was alive that he was not going to be found. We would have found him. We would have fought to stay. He would have fought to stay alive. And they go, okay, what if it was a mountain lion? Well, something attacking him, killing him, dragging him, a 17-year-old with his rifle, backpack. All right. So now here's the deal. This last part gives you what we're talking about here. Okay. And this is the last part. And anybody gonna come on live with me tonight and we're gonna discuss this? I'll put a link in the chat. Who is that? No. We know Angela will give us another excuse as always. And we're not gonna go there. We know Me and the Moon is wearing her bonnet as usual. Who else? Anybody else doing anything that y'all will come on at the end? All right, so let's read the last part. So what they're saying, there was no way Corey, if he was alive, that we wouldn't have found it. This is the search rescue people saying we would have found this dude. This time we came prepared, right? Y'all got to remember, this is 2014, 2015. Now this is not 1998. So this was at a time that they knew that this is real. We got to come with it. And so that's why they sent the hikers. Let me go back to the first page. They sent everything. They sent, you ever seen that movie when Obama said, bring everyone? They sent everyone, the best dogs in the world, search and rescue. Yeah. Okay, here we go. So they had 250 searchers, Rocky Mountain search rescue, horsemen. They had horses out there on horse, hikers hiking through the treks. They had helicopters, remember, night vision, infrared. And then they had the best trained search dogs in the world. They was doing this thing in a 10-mile grid and everything else. So at the end of here, he says, and this, now I want y'all to hear this. There was no way he would have fought to stay alive, because we know him. If he was attacked by a mountain lion, something attacking, killing, and dragging a 17-year-old with his rifle, his backpack, and the other gear any distance would equate to his body being 10 miles, 3,000 feet above sea level, does not seem likely. Y'all hear that? It wasn't an animal attack because they just said it. There's no way something attacking him, and they're not just saying him out loud. Could be a Bigfoot, from crying out loud, killing him, dragging a 17-year-old big ass boy. Okay, his rifle, his backpack, and his other gear 10 miles. Would have dragged him 10 miles through the wilderness, through snow that's chest deep, and 3,000 feet above sea level. Y'all hear me? And took him 3,000 feet above sea level. And they're saying there's nothing could have done that. It doesn't make sense. No human could not have done that. No human could have taken this young man, all right, and dragged him 10 miles through the snow, his gun, his backpack, and remember 6,000, but 3,000 feet above sea level. So what they're saying, even above there, you're going to have some problem with oxygen. There's a lot of stuff. And then as a result of an animal tax, shreds of clothing, tissue, blood would have been left behind, but there was never none of it discovered. And ladies and gentlemen, that's that part of the story. Now, when we talk about cattle mutilation and all of this stuff, if you remember, when this happens, they don't find any blood. They find surgically removed body parts. They don't find any tracks on any animals when we see these mutilations. And the other weird part about it is that this carcass is sitting out in the open. No animals touch it. No wolves, no coyotes, no wild animals. We're talking 800 pounds of beef sitting there. No flies even come around it, because whatever they drained this thing with or whatever they done, radiate, whatever it is. The same thing here. There's no blood, no tracks, no clothing, anything left behind. And we're going to tend to say that that could have been possible that a human or something grabbed this dude and took him that far in up there. So let me do this here. Let me put this in the chat. All right. All right. So that's the StreamYard chat. Anybody want to clip and come on in? I'll see you in the studio. And I'll see if I can put it in the back office here of the chat and then pin it. Let me see here. Let me see what we got here. Yeah, I'm going to pin it in the chat in just a minute. Let's go. All right. Let's do it. Do it. Do it, Roderick. Do it. There you go. All right. So there it is. I just wanted to make sure. All right. It's also pinned at the top. Who's going to, if you've been watching and listening to the conversation and we can talk about this conversation, keep it going, then I want to invite you to join me for the last moments and moments of what are we doing tonight. And pretty much, and who's brave? Well, I'm brave. This is not a dark and shadowy place. Yeah. This is not a dark and shadowy place from there. And we can kind of do that. Any takers? No takers? Okay, no takers. I'll do it by myself. Shit, I'm good. All right, so another story that we're going to be covering soon is going to forget the lady's name. Let me see if I have it up here. And one moment, let me see. Let me check if I have her already here for us to do some stuff. Already here. Nope, I guess not. Okay, nope, I guess not. All right, so yeah. Anyway, I was trying to I was looking for a download to kind of show you the next story. Okay, I might can do it now. Hang on. Let me download the so who we're going to cover. All right. That one. And now. All right. All right. Thank you for the support, Miss Sampson. Really appreciate it. Y'all give I don't know if you want to put your name in the chat so I know your YouTube handle. We can give you a shout out. So let me show y'all the next couple of things that's coming up real quick. Let me go to the download section in here. All right. So like I said before, now this is going to be the next one. We're going to talk about Samantha Sam Sayer. She came up missing. So I'm gonna be doing a video. This is gonna be a pre-recorded video on her story and a couple of other ones. So that's gonna be the next one. Confirmed now on the 19th. We're gonna have Dr. Stephen Bassett. So be prepared for an interview here. Look him up. It's gonna be a great interview. It's gonna be a live interview. We're gonna do it next Tuesday night. So make sure y'all check him out. Okay, there we go. So y'all give a shout out right here. Let me take this banner down. This banner. Okay, right there on the top. Shalyn Sampson. She not only, said here, Roderick, great job. I found value in the show tonight. So she gave us some support tonight. So I want all of y'all. She's the one and only tonight. And so y'all give her, matter of fact, we're going to give her some claps and shit too. Let me find my applause. Yeah. There you go. Y'all give Miss Sampson a shout out for supporting the show tonight. And thank you very much. Man of the Moon says, I'm going to bed now. Y'all have a great evening. Great show, Roderick. Go to bed. And I'm going to be psychic. And tell me if I'm wrong. She's going to have on a burgundy bonnet tonight. It's burgundy, red, or dark color bonnet tonight. So if I'm right, put in the chat. See how close did I get? Yeah. So, yeah, that's me. All right. But yeah, thank y'all, Miss Sampson, as well for, like I say, supporting the show. I appreciate you. It all comes in great joy. For sure, it does. And if anyone else want to do that tonight, pretty much from there. All right. So, is there anything else we need to go with before we get out of here? We won't stay too late, and pretty much. Yep, I'm sporting the black backdrop. So when I tell some of these stories and stuff, still in the same place. I'm just doing a different setup. Just testing you and these bonnets. I know, right? I'm all for the bonnets now. But yeah, just doing a black backdrop, just kind of so the focus will be on a conversation. And soon I'm gonna get the beard and the hair trimmed, and then so let the silver hair kind of show in the light and stuff. So we'll see how that works out. Pretty much, yeah, we'll see how that works too, and we'll just kind of go from there. All right, so that's it. Let me get ready to get out since nobody's going to join us tonight, and all of y'all need to go to bed as well. Y'all go to bed. Okay, so like I said, real quickly, let me get some commitments here. Who's going to get this ebook? Which one of y'all is going to be the next person to download my ebook? Let me know right now in the chat so I can give you a pre-shout out. you're going to get your copy of the UFO Conspiracy. Yes, that's the ebook. Got a lot of great stuff in there for you to get. Yes. A lot of great stuff for you to get. All right, Nina's Life. Y'all give her a shout out there. Yeah. Give her a shout out for the super chat there. Yeah. We will put that in the making there. So y'all give that to as well. How do you get the download? Well, basically, if any of you have purchased and you didn't get your download, you should get an email. Check your spam. So when you buy it, you're going to get a download. Make sure that when you go through, So you're going to go ahead and you get it, you buy it, and then it will give you a download link will be emailed to you. And if you didn't get your download link, you can email me at contact@whythebigsecret.com, and I'll check the thing, PayPal, and then I can send a link to that it'll come from the shopping cart, and it'll come from there as well. And you're funny with these bonnets. I'm in mine. See, man, you know what? Y'all got to start coming on the show in your bonnets. I need to see these damn things. We're going to do that. Angela Blue says, I'm in mine now. Y'all funny. But yeah, so how do you get the book is that you're going to go to roderickmartin.com. You're going to click on it. And then you add it to cart. And it's going to take you into the secure site of PayPal. From there, it'll be secure from PayPal. And then you'll be able to get it. And then it'll, like I say, send you a download. There is a shopping cart with a regression book in there too. That is I didn't write it. I got it for High Strangeness for all of us. I got a couple of ebooks and things for y'all to learn some stuff from. That'll be there as well. But yeah, roderickmartin.com. And I would love to shout out somebody tonight and say, hey, thank you for all of that. And pretty much. But again, if you found value, and if you have a business and you want to sponsor, you want us to shout you out, or at any point from there, get a shout out to your business, we can do that. There's the email right there. So if you want to be a sponsor of the show, you want some ad spots, internet spots that we're going to be doing, there's the email, contact@whythebigsecret.com, or you can hit our Google Voice, which is 937-our-team. And I'm looking for some weight loss partnerships again. I'm going to continue to do that. Maybe get somebody to give me some products and I can talk about how good your products are. So we're going to be doing that as well. All right. So enough of the gibberish. Let's see. Any last words? Let me check the text, see if I'm missing anything. Nina's Life. My bandana trying up like a Aunt Jemima. Boy, I tell you. Your voice sounds gravelly. Is it? Is it bad now? Is it better? Is my voice better now? Nina has a video for you, but I can't shrink it enough working it. If you have a YouTube account, Nina, just load it up to your YouTube and then email me the private link. Yeah, and then I'll be able to watch it. A lot of times that's where y'all want to do, upload your videos to YouTube and then just send them over privately or whatever. And then I'll be able to watch it. And then that way you have a free storage. Yeah, so just load it up there and then you can do that. And, you don't have to you can start a YouTube channel without nothing on it. Just start it and put something there. And then you'll be able to. We've done it before. We've had some abductees on here before. We're going to have a lot when it comes down to the Project Black, where we'll be streaming over there pretty soon. So it will be a time that we will have some abductees and everything away. Yeah. Yep. So we'll be doing that pretty soon enough. And we'll kind of see about that as well. All right. Okay. Well, I was just waiting. I was trying to wait, see if any action or anything is going down. But I guess we all ready to get out of here. Hope you enjoyed everything. I'll probably trim out the video a little bit, at some point, shorten it up a little bit so people could consume it creatively from that point. So I know it's a delay in the chat, so I'll wait real quick before we get out, and I'll give you a little, yeah. If not, we'll get ready to end the stream. Let's find an outgoing message. Okay, one more time here. Support. Get the book. Get the book right there. And I'll leave you with that.
Why did Ruby shoot Oswald? Was there a conspiracy?
In a world shrouded in darkness and obscured by deception from the big secret keepers, a burning question ignites in the hearts and minds of truth seekers. Why? Let's dive into the abyss of the unknown. Challenge the limits of our understanding.
This bizarre sequence of double killings raised great questions. Who actually fired the shots that killed Kennedy?
Pierce the veil of secrecy.
Cattle found dead and the manner of their deaths are a real mystery.
Anyone who is concerned about lead in the drinking water in Flint.
And venture into the realm of conspiracies and extraterrestrial evidence.
A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
Let us consider the question, why the big secret?